Hey, welcome back. This is Dedrick and
Janelle Torrey.
hey. So listen, we are Kingdom Minded Ministry, and we are here to continue a session that we started on last week, and we talked about leadership.
Mhm.
And so we think it's important that leadership is discussed in the marketplace, in ministry, even in marriage. And so we're here today just to continue on. We had 3 points that we talked about last week. You want to talk about those? What we just kind of briefly just tell them what we talked about.
Yeah. So last week, we did the focus, power, and approach to decision making. So on today, we're going to try to cover another three, which would be goal orientation, hierarchy, and communication skills.
Okay. So we are finishing up on or continue on from last week or the last video we did, which was last week. So we're looking forward to this one. So I do want to start out. We want to start out with a scripture that we're going to just kind of base this one off tonight, which is Hebrews 10:24-25. And it said, "Let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as one see the day drawing near." So we kind of want to pull out of that is that you are to encourage one another. I think as leadership, it's very important. Don't you agree that we should encourage the team and encourage each other in the works that we have to do? Right.
Yeah.
So let's start out with the first one, goal orientation.
Okay. So goal orientation. Leadership may prioritize achieving specific outcomes or targets, while servant leadership often emphasize the well-being and growth of team members.
Yeah. So we think about that. If we look at that in the marketplace, or we look at that in the business world, right, or just regular jobs, I guess you can say, that would be like the leadership may prioritize achieving those specific outcomes and targets. So they don't really look at how the team can gain any type of achievements from that, I guess. It's more of the what the company is, the
overall goal. The overall goal and mission, as far as in business, is when you start working at a business, that their mission, their goals, their vision, and so the overall outcome is to make sure that the mission and the goals that were outlined when you started working at the job or whatever is ultimately fulfilled.
Right.
So not so much to where it is, not so much that it's just tailored to the team, unless there are specific goals set up for like the different teams or department. Like you have a department, like the sales department, they have a certain amount of goals that they're to achieve. But in the end, the overall goal is for that to funnel up to the head leadership, the head leadership organization, and to see that their vision is fulfilled. So yeah.
Right. Which is good, regarding because of the organization and the vision of the leader, right? But I know in time past I've thought about that, as working for corporations and stuff like that. And their goal is to, achieve a certain thing, right? And they push us to achieve them goals. I mean, we've had stuff like at the end of the month, saying that you got to crunch time, we gotta do this because we got to get these numbers in, right? And it was great. It's great for the company, but it kind of left me feeling like, okay, I know I might get some commission, out of this, but I'm still feeling like, what am I really overall getting out of this? Does that make sense? So it kind of left me like, okay, they're not really thinking about me. They're just looking at me as a number, as a machine to crunch them numbers for them, right?
Yeah.
And so, which will lead us into the second part of this, which is while servant leadership often emphasizes the well-being and growth of team members. So I guess the question would be, how can we achieve the goal for the organization
Right.
or the leaders,
Right.
and at the same time achieve, the team members feel fulfilled, right? Like they've accomplished something, or that this not only this goal is just for the organization, but it's also is for us as a team member.
I guess it all depends on the way the structure is, and I know we're going to talk about hierarchy in a minute next. But it is it's the way that the structure is laid out. So if you have a kind of open-minded or open environment to where you can offer your suggestions, you can offer your input, then some companies welcome that. Some companies, they have everything basically laid out the way they want it to go. So a lot of times, like you said, you may have felt like a number, whereas I've been in different situations where I didn't feel like a number and I felt like my input was valued, but at the same time, the overall goal and the overall vision was already set. I know that when we get jobs, when we are allowed to, go work in jobs in marketplace, when you apply for a job, you tend to look at the criteria and, you're like, okay, I fit that, and they want you to be a team player. That's the key thing. In our business, we want you to be a team player. So it's good to be a team player, but at the same time, as a team player, people they view things differently. And so in some cases, you are allowed to put your input in. Your input may be different. You may have a different route to get to the same goal, to get the same result. But at the end of the day, some people value that and some people don't value that.
Right. And so that can even play, I know we're talking about that in the marketplace, but that even plays a role in ministry. Right?
Yeah.
And so if we look at ministries and churches and so forth, and you have a leadership, right? I believe it's important, even in ministry, that the leadership value the input and the skill sets of the team, right? Because the team should, even though you're in the church, you have a pastor, you have a leader or whatever, right? They should be able to have some type of input and feel valued. And so I think that's what, even with that, we want to look at that as team members. Serving in church too, right?
I mean, that's what the word says, that, each one of us all of us have a gifting.
Right.
At least one. You got one. And some of us have an office. So at the same time, we all have to come together to make the whole thing work.
Yeah.
And if we don't come together, that's where the burden falls on different offices, different giftings. And that's when, like we don't forsake, the assembly, us coming together, because us coming together, it helps. What they said, many hands make the work light. When all of us come together and we all are in our rightful place or our designated place or our callings, our giftings, then everything can flow in unity. It's when we are not in unity that everything seems to kind of fall apart, falls on the shoulder, whether it be the pastor, whether it be the associate pastor, whether it be the apostle, the prophet, the pastor, the teacher, the evangelist. If everyone is not in their right position and not focused on the right thing, which is to edify Christ,
right?
That's the ultimate goal.
Come on,
that's the ultimate goal of us coming together. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So he is the ultimate goal. And if we cannot come together, or the burden is placed on one position too much, that can cause a shifting, that can cause anxiety, that can cause frustration, that can cause confusion.
Yeah.
It can cause a whole lot of issues
Mhm.
because you don't want the pastor to have have a show all the burden, especially if he's trying to get out what Christ has called, what he's in that Christ has called his particular structure to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't want it to just fall on the teachers or just everybody has to come together.
Right. So that's good. That's good. I like that you said that the ultimate goal is, basically edifying Christ, and we advance the kingdom. Basically, that's what we do when we're in ministry. That's what we're supposed to do in ministry, advance the kingdom, even in the marketplace. We're to advance the kingdom.
Mhm.
So if we look at that, the ultimate goal, even in marriage, so we look at those three areas and we set our goal to edify and advance the kingdom and just uplift and glorify Christ, then I don't think we can go wrong in any of those areas. So
and see, that kind of helps, when it talks about the well-being. So if you think about it, when we said that the servant leadership often emphasize the well-being and growth of team members. When it comes to marriage, we're a team,
right?
And the only way a team can flow is we encourage each other, we balance each other, we challenge each other. We're not, it's not like what they call a democracy. No, it's not a democracy. We value each other's opinion. We value each other's growth. We expect each other to grow.
Right.
And so a lot of times when you don't expect a person to grow or you minimize their growth, it can lead to issues. And then you think about like when they say a lot of times, we really don't understand when the Bible says about being equally yoked. A lot of times, we just leave it as, oh, we believe in the same thing. Right. No, it's much more than that. It is so much more than that. Like we may believe in Jesus, but what do we actually believe about Jesus? And what do we believe about even marriage? What do we believe about, coming together as one? Do we believe in us having we have the same shared bank account? Do we believe that, the wife is to cook and clean and, whatever, or if, the thing is going on there about half on the bills type of stuff. It's like, what do we believe? And if you don't have those conversations, then it leads to issues. So we've had those conversations. So yeah. So it does. It has to be a team effort.
That's good. That's good. All right. So we're going to move to the next one, which is hierarchy. So in hierarchy, we're talking about traditional leadership can reinforce hierarchical structures, while servant leadership aims to flatten hierarchies and promote a sense of community and equality. So traditional leadership can reinforce hierarchical structures. That word right there. Structures. So and that's what we were just kind of talking about, right? And so that means that everything is pointing up to the head, to the leadership, basically. And so we're all to just, which we do, as a leader, a leader leads, right? And so you're supposed to have that there. But I think in this case, it's saying basically it's not really viewing the team or basically taking the team into consideration, in that regard, because the leader's basically saying everything you do it my way or the highway, basically type thing. Yeah. And so, but if one person doesn't know everything, listen to this.
Let's rewind it.
Listen at this quote. One person doesn't know everything. Here's a quote from John Maxwell. He said, being a great leader is all about having a genuine willingness and a true commitment to lead others to achieve a common vision and goals through positive influence. No leader can ever achieve anything great or long-lasting all alone. Teamwork goes hand in hand with leadership. Leadership is about people and for people.
Right.
What he said right there, he said, no leader can ever achieve anything great and long lasting alone.
Right.
So even if we have a hierarchy, you're still a leader,
Mhm.
and you're still recognized as a leader.
Right.
You're still respected as a leader,
Right.
right? But
You don't know everything.
you don't know everything.
Right. So you still need support.
You still need that support.
Because it's like who's looking at your blind spots? Because all of us have blind spots.
Yep.
So if you know everything, do everything, you have a hard time delegating.
Mhm.
That could be a control issue.
Yep.
Because you have to have your hands in everything. And so yeah, and we understand that at the end of the day, there needs to be a leader. It's just like a manager. You know, you go into a store, you got to know who the manager is. And not everybody can say, hey, we all the managers. No, it's somebody that is specifically over this store, this business, this marriage. You know, somebody is ultimately the spokesperson, the person for it. However, at the end of the day, there's still, if there's a manager, there's an assistant manager. Mm-hmm. Then sometimes a team lead. There's at least three people in some type of managerial function.
Right. Yeah.
That they all have to work together. And so we understand that. So we're not saying there's anything wrong with being a leader, not saying anything against being a leader or leadership per se. Mm-hmm. It's when the leadership is all about the leader and not really delegating or having like a servant's heart. Because at the end of the day, especially when it comes to ministry, our ultimate leader is God. Yeah. Jesus came for us. He's our ultimate example of servant leadership. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said we're supposed to be. He was our example of how to walk this life out, how to live this life. Mm-hmm. And he had help. He had the 12 disciples. Yeah. Again, when they came looking, they were looking for Jesus. Mm-hmm. But again, they still helped him. He still developed them. He still delegated to them. It wasn't just him doing everything. He was an example to all of us. And so that is the key, the golden, focus that we want to just continue to reiterate that. Yeah. All of us are called to lead. All of us are leaders in some way, shape, or form in our life.
So you even look at it this way, like you mentioned Jesus, and it's kind of popped in my mind about how Jesus, he obviously viewed the disciples as leaders, mm-hmm. right?
Yep.
Because even though he was leading them, and they knew he was the teacher, he was the Lord, mm-hmm. and he was all these things, mm-hmm. but yet he still delegated and said, no, you go out and do this. Mm-hmm. You can do this,
mm-hmm. You do greater works.
You do, even as I'm gone, you'll do greater works because mm-hmm. I'm leaving my spirit, Holy Spirit with you, mm-hmm. so that you can do greater works than what I did.
Right.
So he had a high expectation of them, not just following him and serving him, but to do greater things.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think that's what leadership should do. Have a high expectation of your team to not just follow us, but do great things. Mm-hmm. Right.
And allow them to do great things.
Allow them to do great things.
Yeah. Because Jesus, he had his assignment.
Yeah.
He like, look, I got 3 years to get this done. I ain't got time to be arguing, fussing. Yeah. I already know what Judas gonna do. Gonna do what you got to do because I know what I came to do.
Right.
Period. And he did not lose his focus.
Yeah.
And, we should not lose our focus on what Christ has called us to do, what we have been assigned to do on this earth. Mm-hmm. We all have a mission. We all have a mandate. We all have an assignment. Yeah. So.
And that's, and I get it because some people will say, well, they have the argument. So as some leaders will say, well, most people, a lot of people don't want to be leaders. A lot of them don't want it. They just want to, serve, mm-hmm. which that's true. But as a leader, I think we should find those gifts or those talents that God has placed in each one of us, right? And try to help pull that forward and try to say, hey, I know you don't really want to lead, okay, that's fine. But you in your own way, you're a leader in some type of way.
Mhm.
And we have to point that out to them, just like Jesus said. He said, "You're going to do greater works than me."
Mhm.
So yeah. So with that is, on the second part, it said the servant leadership often emphasizes the well-being and growth of the team. No, I went back up. I'm sorry. So second part says, while servant leadership aims to flatten hierarchies and promotes a sense of community and equality.
Yeah.
So it's a level playing field.
Yeah. I don't know whether we want to talk about that.
Right. I know it's kind of touchy, I know it's tricky,
People don't like to hear about, the level, playing fields, but yeah, Jesus talked about it when who was it, James and the two that their mom was trying to figure out, like, which one are gonna sit.
Yeah.
Nah,
Special one.
not a damn one of y'all, because this ain't that type of party. No disciple was greater than the other. Each one of them were a leader in their own right, in their own spirit. Nobody was greater than the other. Like, y'all can argue till the cows come home. This is not what that is about. And so Jesus made sure that everything stayed equal.
Right.
And I know sometimes in certain things, a lot of people feel that sometimes things can't be equal, even in marriage, we can't, there cannot be equalness. In some marriages, there are equal, it's just that we just have different roles, period. We do different things. Sometimes we do a lot of things together, but it's like we do different things. And it's some of it, some people may feel it's not as traditional. But hey, everybody's marriage is different. Everybody's ministry is different. Everybody's mandate is different. But the core of all that should be Christ and doing what God has called us to do.
Right. And so even with that, talking about equality. And so you mentioned about that with Jesus. And I know some people will argue and say, well, no, Jesus had three that was close to him,
Mhm.
And so that's true.
Yes, he did.
And so you do have more of a core, but he shared it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, that's the point we're trying to get across, is that you share, you make it equal in some regard, where people are not feeling like that their skill set or their gifts or their abilities cannot be utilized, and that they're just a number, or they're just a servant, type thing, that they can't be utilized. So
yeah.
So that's the point we're trying to get across, that everybody's in their own regard as a leader, some type of way. So, all right. Anything else on that? Okay. All right. So the last one we're going to talk about tonight is communication style. Leaders may use a more directive communication style, while servant leaders prioritize active listening and fostering open communication. That's a touchy one.
Touch it.
Touch it.
Touch
Go ahead,
it.
touch it. Go ahead and
Go
touch
ahead
it.
and touch it.
So leaders may use, when we say leaders, we're talking about just the average leader, right? Traditional leader.
Yeah.
Leaders may use a more directive communication style. That means whatever I say, go.
Yep. Like
you ain't got no input.
Right.
You don't need to say nothing. You just need to do.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going around.
Or if you do try to say something, have an input, then you got some demonic things going on, or you're trying to usurp authority and all that. Yeah.
So I believe and pray that there's that time is coming where a lot of that is breaking off. Breaking off in the marketplace, breaking off in ministry, breaking off even in marriages.
Yeah.
So because you see that in all those areas.
Yeah,
you do. You've seen that in all those areas where is whatever I say, go. You ain't got no input.
Mhm.
And it shuts the people down. It
Yeah.
shuts the gifts down. It even shuts down the opportunity for you to grow as a leader,
Right.
because that person can have some
Right.
valuable input that can probably take you to the next level, can
Mhm.
take your company to the next level, can
Mhm.
take your ministry and your marriage, all those to the next level. And so when we shut down people like that and just, we don't hear them,
Mhm.
we're losing out on valuable information
Mhm.
and valuable skill set, valuable gifts that can definitely be utilized in those areas.
Right. Because again, nobody knows everything.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, your communication style. Now, when this is more directive communication, having being direct can have its pluses,
Right.
and it can have its minuses. But understanding that the majority of people that are direct, when we're saying whatever we're saying, it's not meant to be, harsh. It's just a matter of a fact. To us, it's a matter of fact, and just making sure that the person understand, like, we're not gonna filter through this. The best way that we could probably do such and such is, we could try it this way, we could try it that way, but just be more direct with your conversation, your communication. But being prioritized active listening. Now that works across the board with everything: business, marriage, ministry. Because I can honestly attest that there have been times where active listening was not active at all. And the reason being is that, sometimes, when you have certain spiritual gifts and you can kind of see through some of the things that are being said as being manipulative or not honest, I can honestly say I would just tune the person out, especially if I know that there was dishonesty in the communication. And it's just like, because we've had a meeting like that, and it's just like within the first 15 minutes of knowing that, nope, the person is being very deceptive.
Yeah.
And so the active listening got shut off. And then we found out the person was being deceptive. But anyway, so it's actually just tuning in, especially if the person is not being deceptive, actually listening to what is going on as they're communicating with you, and giving them basically like the floor to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we don't know everything. There's so many different giftings in all of us that from different perspectives can be brought to the table, and it can make work lighter for some.
Mm-hmm.
It can make things flow smoother. So yeah.
So that's good. That's good. We definitely want to always have an open ear to hear what someone else is, their opinion or views, even if if it's going to challenge you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had those.
We've had those where people come to us and say, "Hey, I think you should try this. I think you should try that." I could have just said, "No, get out of my office," or whatever. But it was good, and it challenged me. And and I looked at it and I had to review it and say, what, that person's right.
Mm-hmm.
We could change this up. We could do this differently. And we think about it even in our marriage. We've had that where we've had tough conversations.
Mm-hmm.
with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, oh, man, she right.
He right.
So, but in the end, one of the things that we've always said, even when we first got together, is that we were going to always communicate.
Yeah.
We're going to always be open and tell each other everything. Because we didn't want to give the devil any room.
No room whatsoever.
No foot into our marriage.
Not a millimeter.
Because there's no one can come to her and say that, oh, Dedrick, he did this, he did that. Nope.
I already know.
She already know. So,
can't nobody come to him and tell him nothing, because he already know. And then we got a clause for the stuff that, hey, in case I forgot a certain part, and through the years I may think of something, yeah, I forgot to tell you about this right here. And it's like, oh, okay, because we already put that in there. Been 12 years and it's been great since day one. It's like lay it out on the table. Let me, because we had that understanding, like, you know what? This is new for us. We done been through this before. So it's like, hey, I ain't got nothing to lose. I just, tell you everything and you can make a decision on whether you want to roll or what you want to do. And God, he rolled with me.
So definitely keep the lines open for communication.
Mhm.
It like I said, it can be challenging, because sometimes you don't want to hear that type of stuff, but in the end, it's worth, getting that communication, put it on the table, and then you take it for what it is, and you deal with it accordingly. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, any other comments on tonight?
Nope.
Okay.
That's about it.
That's about it. Well, wow, that was kind of fast too. So, but we enjoy this. We enjoy being able to share this with leadership, regarding leadership, and just talking to those that we've connected to, and that's connecting to us and following our YouTube and following us on social media. So again, if you don't oh, don't forget to. We had something new that popped up on our screen. I was like, what is that?
What is that? Okay.
Yeah, so that's different. So don't forget to make sure that you subscribe to our channel and share the channel with others that may be interested or need this type of communication or information. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we're going to sign out and let you guys have the rest of your evening. We appreciate your time. God bless you. Till next time, we'll talk to you soon.
Peace out.
All right.